How do you order food for the office these days? How do you make sure it's on time and as ordered? How can you get it individually packaged? How? EasyCater. When you order on EasyCater.com, the food comes as ordered and on time 98% of the time. And when there's a problem, which is practically never,
Thank you for calling EasyCater.
you can reach someone in about 9 seconds. How do you order 24/7 from more than 80,000 restaurants? How? EasyCater. Order 24/7 on EasyCater.com.
How's your mental health? I'm listening with Alanis Morissette.
When it first started, I would have my nightly panic attacks, but then I started getting really curious about all the sensations. Like, I just really started looking at, okay, so chest is, I got really kind of granular in observing the details of what was really going on with the breath and my jaw. It's just survival strategy. It's cortisol cooking nonstop. Chronic stress is trauma.
Explore more at imlistening.org.
Knowledgeable.
Listen, here's what's wrong with your hypothesis, your theorem, your supposition, your postulate.
Honest.
If that front ain't in gangsta, your back end won't be able to show its full potential.
Understanding.
You're going to suck. You're going to suck for the next couple of years.
Passionate.
I'm all over social media. I live it.
This is the Kevin Sheehan Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.
Hashtag facts.
It's the Kevin Sheehan Show. Now, here's Kevin.
It's not totally true. Nick Ashew in for Kevin Sheehan. No highlight there. I wonder why. Oh, I know why. Because there wasn't a single game last night. Not one. Not anything. Now, this feels a lot more like a traditional July show when we're sitting around going, oh, there's literally no sports on right now. It's been a blessing having the NBA Finals on in the middle of July. I love it. I know we got the Olympics coming up, and that adds a little something to it. But last night was weird. I mean, last night there was literally no sporting event on whatsoever. And I thought to myself, maybe I won't go to bed at like midnight and wake up at 4 a.m. That's a good idea. And I did. I put on a random episode of The Office and let myself fall asleep. And it was quite nice. I'll take it.
You're a company man through and through, watching Peacock right before bed.
Hey, I got to say, I love that Peacock. It's fantastic, especially. Listen, I have been an Office fan long before any of this, all right? I liked The Office before it was cool, pretty much.
Wasn't it always cool?
Yeah, it was. Well, I would say this. It's actually probably more. I feel like there's more of a cult following with that show now than there was when it was on the air.
Well, yeah, everything becomes more popular once it gets on Netflix and it's in that trending topics for like a week.
How true is that? So like they canceled that show Manifest, and it's like the #1 trending show for the last 2 weeks on Netflix. Because this is what I've learned now with this whole streaming wars that's going on with TV shows is if it's on network TV, people are like, I'm not really into it anymore. The minute it shows up on like Netflix or Prime Video or Hulu or Apple TV Plus, it's like, hey, have you seen this show? Because then you sound cool. Then you sound like you're letting somebody know about a cool show that they had no idea ever existed before.
Let me tell you about this show, Jericho. Okay, it was on CBS, and now it's on Netflix, and everybody started watching it like last fall, and I watched it when it was out live. I was upset when it was canceled, and now it's on Netflix. It's very good. I think it got canceled due to like the writer's strike because they only got like a quarter of a season in, then they had to stop.
I remember that. Yep.
I know what you're talking about. I know I just did it, but it's a suggestion. Just watch it. It's not bad.
Well, I saw too, like, you ever seen that show, The 4400?
I've heard of it, but I have not watched it.
It's like another top trending show on Netflix now, and it was around forever. Like, I think it started in 2007. Netflix is just the king. They're the big swing, and you know what? And everything that's on there automatically becomes popular content because 75% of the country has a Netflix account or steals their friend's account.
Also, it's impossible to find anything. So if there's anything in that what's trending, people just watch it.
It is true. They need to fix the menu on Netflix. It's just the point where it's like it's way too hard to search for things.
You watched this one obscure show 3 years ago. Here's something exactly like it.
By the way, I love now that they have like a random selection at the beginning when you sign into Netflix. It's like, watch something, and they're just going to pick whatever you want. They've got hundreds of thousands of episodes of content on there. The last thing I want is Netflix picking it out for me. No way.
I've never hit the randomizer. I can't imagine doing it.
I saw it and I was like, there's no way I'm going to do that. But yeah, and we could have had a Team USA game today against Australia. That's been canceled now because of the whole COVID protocols with Bradley Beal and Jeremy Grant. Bradley Beal's out of the Olympics. And, we were talking about this yesterday. I'm not going to make this a vaccine versus no vaccine thing because, God, the last year and a half has been that, and I'm mentally drained, and I just don't. You can go argue with your fellow people on Twitter about that. I don't care. It's not going to be that conversation. Or you can tweet Brendan Darr. You can tell him how you feel about vaccines or no vaccines, too, if you want to do that. But I don't want to hear it. The big thing is you're not going to have Bradley Beal in the Olympics. They're going to replace him. And this was something that Wizards fans could have been excited about. This was something that you finally have a player who's been a Wizard his entire career, drafted, came up within the organization, a fan favorite, an all-star, all-NBA. This was an opportunity for him to finally be represented at the highest level. And when I say the highest level, this is worldwide. You are representing the Wizards, the United States, in the Olympics for Team USA. He would have been the first to the team to ever do it. And it's a lost opportunity just for the organization, for this fan base. And I go back, to the whole, this is why we can't have nice things. It's what it feels like.
I mean, it's just incredible. Like, we get this one good thing after, 2 months of not hearing anything from the Wizards, and now this. Of all things.
And there's a lot of benefits to this, too. It's not just, hey, he's representing the Wizards. This is great. It makes you feel good about the organization. Because a lot of it is a morale thing. Like, it's not going to benefit the Wizards that much. It's not going to make them a better team. But what it would do, what it could have done with Beal there, it does help with recruiting. It does help with Beal being on a national stage, other players around the NBA seeing him out there and then seeing him play for the Wizards, maybe younger guys that don't want to play somewhere else because there's always an NBA star that decides, I don't want to play where I am anymore. And then if he's there, he's able to have conversations in these training camps, which they did have. He's able to maybe recruit because remember, that's how LeBron James and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh decided to go together way earlier than before they ever signed in free agency, was playing together with Team USA. There are a lot of benefits to that, and it's a boost for the organization in a lot of ways that now they're not going to get past what's already happened.
It's like the All-Star break on steroids. You basically get, 6 weeks, assuming, like between the start of camp and the end of the Olympics, you get 6 weeks with these guys. That's 6 weeks of recruiting to Washington.
It matters. That type of stuff matters. And for an organization that just doesn't seem to be a free agent destination, D.C. is a great city. I've never understood. It's like Dallas. It's like why the Mavericks can never get free agents to go there. Why would you not want to play in Dallas? I don't understand that. Why would you not want to play in D.C.? But that was an opportunity to be able to fix that, to be able to have that chance to just add an extra accolade, not just to Bradley Beal's resume, but to the organization. And for him to be able to get out there and be more visible and more vocal, and he was going to be one of the stars of this team. I mean, there was no question, because it's a team that's missing a lot of star power. They could have really used him out there. And, if you look at this, I don't know, I had this thought yesterday when this was all going on. Like, maybe once he tested positive, Beal was just like, you know what? I already got named to the team. I got to quarantine for like 2 weeks because I think it's like 11 days or whatever it is. You're pretty much isolated. Then he would have to travel. I think he'd have to travel without the team. They're saying Jeremy Grant may still be a part of the team. Maybe just look at this and said, you know what? I can go on a vacation with my family at this point. I'm not going to go through the protocols. I'm not going to go through the process. Just rest up for next season. Because look, the biggest worry obviously was, well, okay, Bradley Beal is going to be representing the Wizards of Team USA in the Olympics. That's great, but please don't get hurt. Please don't get hurt. That's one thing everybody's worried about, and rightfully so. I mean, Beal has certainly been more than healthy over the past few seasons, but earlier in his career, he had his injury problems. And, after a long grinding season with a lot of back-to-backs, to then go have a little bit of time off and then go right out to this Olympic training camp, that's a concern. So you're not going to have to worry about that now if you're the Wizards, if you're a Wizards fan. It's more of a rest up for next year, but this type of stuff does matter to Beal. This is something he's always wanted to do. And again, like, It doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect you personally. But like, you feel for the guy. Like, there is nobody, whether it's around the NBA or in this city alone, that doesn't like Bradley Beal. When you really think about it, there are not many stars in professional sports that are just universally liked. Bradley Beal is that guy. Now, you can sit here and debate whether he's a number 2 really on a good team or isn't clutch enough or whatever it is. You can have those arguments all day, and we've done it plenty. But when it comes to Bradley Beal, the leader, Bradley Beal, the teammate, the fan favorite on top of being an all-star, he's universally liked, and you just don't see that very much. And I think that's why a lot of people have really looked at this and gone, man, that really sucks for him. And I don't want to hear maybe he should have been vaccinated. I don't know whether he's vaccinated or not. I don't know. Maybe he still got it when he was. I have no idea. But when you see this opportunity, something that he really wanted for him to then not be able to do it, it's a situation where you feel bad for the guy.
It's funny, too. He basically escaped all criticism for still being a St. Louis fan. And
he did. That's a great point.
And John Wall never could for being a Dallas fan.
There's a big difference between St. Louis and Cowboys in D.C.
Well, I know that. Okay. I'm just saying, during the Nats World Series run, people were asking him if he'd be a Nats fan, and he'd be like, "No, I'm a Cardinals fan."
And you know what?
Somehow he escaped criticism.
Remember, Bryce Harper got ripped for wearing the Vegas jersey.
I mean, memes were made of him wearing the Vegas jersey.
Now, granted, Bryce Harper wasn't as liked here as Bradley Beal is.
He was for a time.
The minute everybody started talking about the money that Harper could get in free agency, it all changed. I remember that last season, and it went from, there was a little bit of he's got to just stay healthy, or we'd like to see more power numbers or whatever, to, I hate Bryce Harper, I can't wait till he's gone. The calls that we would get here, the tweets, what people would say on social media, I was like, this is all based on how much money's there.
I can tell you the exact moment it happened because I was here for it.
When was that?
He did an interview with Grant, and Grant mentioned something like, you could be getting a $300 million contract. And he said, don't shortchange me, bro.
You're right. I do remember that.
And he said something about getting $400 or $500 million.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Right after that,
now.
The entire fan base turned on him.
I do remember that. But again, it's once the money starts being discussed, it's everybody's going to nitpick everything. It's like Brandon Sheriff, who's now not going to be. There's no long-term deal, so he'll play on a 1-year deal like we talked about yesterday. That's the right move. But everybody's starting to nitpick everything that Brandon Sheriff, who's one of the best guards in the NFL, but when it comes down to money, everybody's perspective changes of you. You're expected to earn more. You can go from, I remember years ago, and this is an obscure reference, but NBA people will get this with me. Joe Johnson was considered one of the most underrated players in the NBA, and then that free agent class of 2010, he got paid by the Hawks. He got then what was like a 7-year, $125 million deal. That was the max back then. That's how much things have changed. And all of a sudden, it was everybody nitpicked everything Joe Johnson did. It was like, he's a superstar. This guy deserves more credit. He gets paid to, what? No. Tobias Harris, another guy. Tobias Harris now, it's like he went from, this guy is so underrated, he needs to be an all-star, to the Sixers paid him what?
But I will say, both of those guys were worth that money at the time.
Right.
It's so crazy that, thinking back to the Joe Johnson contract now, that was killed for years. And he completely earned that.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So I'm glad you remember that time, too, because that was such a glaring, just juxtaposition, if you will. I mean, is that even the right word there? Would that work? There were two different points of views where it went from exactly that. He's underrated. This guy deserves more credit. To, they paid him how much? Oh, well, he better. Everybody nitpicks everything you do if you make a ton of money. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Just going back to Bradley Beal. He got the max contract, and everybody said he wasn't worth it.
Yeah. I'll say this. I'm excited about the Olympics and Team USA still, though. I understand that 0-2 start. Their exhibition games, it's hilarious when you think about it, because you see these guys sitting here trying to get calls in these tune-up games. And they're Team USA and every single player, because they're all NBA stars on their own levels, they are pulling the "do you know who I am" to the highest degree with refs. And they're like, why aren't you calling this foul? I get this all the time. And nope, doesn't happen here. There's a lot of adjusting. Dame Lillard came out the other day and was like, yeah, we got to kind of learn the game internationally. It's a little different. Bradley Beal was going to be a big part of this. He provided a lot. I mean, he provided a veteran presence, a scorer, a versatile player. And they're going to be...
How do you order food for the office these days? How do you make sure it's on time and as ordered? How can you get it individually packaged? How? EasyCater. When you order on EasyCater.com, the food comes as ordered and on time 98% of the time. And when there's a problem, which is practically never,
Thank you for calling EasyCater.
you can reach someone in about 9 seconds. How do you order 24/7 from more than 80,000 restaurants? How? EasyCater. Order 24/7 on EasyCater.com.
missing that. But I maybe it's the whole, like, the absence makes the heart grow fonder. And maybe that's where we are, where I love the Olympics. Like, the Olympics is one of my favorite things to watch. More Summer Olympics, Winter Olympics, just snowboarding. Because I snowboard, but I can't do any of the cool stuff those guys do. But, like, the Summer Olympics has always been something I'm interested in, even more than basketball. But being able to watch this after not having it last year, I don't know, maybe that's all that it is, where I'm like, this team's probably, there's a good chance this team doesn't win gold. But I'm still excited. I still want to see this. I think we went through a lot in the last year where there's a lot of things taken away from us. A lot of, whether it's experiences or forms of entertainment or our daily routine, stuff that was taken away. Like, you know what, man? I don't really care that I had to get up this early to come in and do this show. Granted, my schedule over the last few years has been me the complete opposite. But you know what? I'm like, hey, I like being able to come into a studio again and do a show. Also, because the technology at home on Monday didn't work for me, so I had to come in anyway because I figured it was safer. But you know what? I like to see your face, Star. I like to be in here. So when stuff is taken away from us, to be able to see it again, even if it's Team USA and it's the B team of Team USA, I'm still excited to see what this team is going to do. But they're not going to be blowing everybody out. They're not. It's going to be a lot tougher of a road for a gold medal this year.
I mean, it is, but it's still going to be so exciting.
Yes.
I mean, I am really looking forward to the Olympics, like, way more than I thought I would, like, even 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But
there's also because there's, like, nothing else. Like, last night was a great example of, oh, there's nothing going on. I can't wait till the Olympics. We need it.
Yeah, I wish the Olympics started 2 nights ago.
Yeah, would have been nice. Although we still have the NBA Finals. We got Game 6 or Game 5. Yeah, 6. 5. Jeez, 5. I'm losing track of what's what.
Yeah.
See? One day off and I lose my mind. Game 5 tomorrow, so we still have the finals, which we're used to not having that during this time of year. So that's at least a nice little boost.
It's the only thing keeping me sane.
Yeah. And you know what? I'll take it. Because right now, it's one of those things where I'm going to take everything that I can get. By the way, I talked to somebody for a while last night that was telling me, I think this is really interesting. When it comes to Team USA, he told me that there's a lot of people that are frustrated with the way that the whole system is being run. Guys like John Morant and Zion Williamson are not part of the camp. So it'd be easier to have, like, John Morant ready to go if he was already in camp, if Bradley Beal was out. And they got to figure out who the replacement is. And a lot of guys aren't in shape because they've been on vacation, because they weren't part of the whole training camp situation. So one of the things they did after we had the debacle in 2004 and then the Redeem team in 2008 was like, we're going to have a training camp. It's going to be a program. Guys are going to be prepared. They're going to be ready to go. It feels like it's dwindled off recently. And a lot of players were like, I'm not getting involved in it this year. And I get it, given the way the last year and a half has gone and the schedule and all that. But they're in a tough position right now with what's happened. And by the way, that may not be the end of it, because there's going to be a ton of restrictions when they get over to Tokyo. So,
yeah, but don't they have the select team that they can bring guys up from?
Yeah, they do, but, like, the fact that John Morant and Zion Williamson aren't a part of this at all is ridiculous. Like, have you looked at some of the guys on the select team? There's, like, a G League superstar.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what his name is. Good this year, but is it possible they just didn't decide to be part of the select team because they were...
Zion and Ja wanted to be a part of it.
Well, then I don't know what we're doing.
Right, and they should have been. Well, John Morant had that cryptic tweet when they lost, too. Do you remember that? Everybody was like, ooh, what do you think he's saying? Because that's the world we live in now, where if somebody tweets, it's like, what does that smiley face mean? Is he happy? Is he sad they lost? What does that mean? Let's be cryptic.
I think we know what it means.
We usually do know what it means. At least the good thing is, though, we do have the Nats back tonight. Is it time for them to look in the mirror and be honest with themselves? Plus, there's a looming issue with the Washington football team. It might put them in a serious competitive disadvantage. Nick Ashew in for Kevin Sheehan on the team.
It's Kevin Sheehan on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.
I'm glad there's actual sports back tonight. The Nats are back. Take it. Because now they're replaying the home run derby. That was what they had to do with the Yankees and Red Sox game getting canceled last night. It's like, so what the hell are we going to show? I know, let's show the home run derby for the 10,000th time. At least they didn't show the hot dog eating contest. Man, that thing gets replayed so much this time of year. The last thing I want to see is more hot dog eating contests. Ugh. So, there's a report out there that the Washington football team is under 50% vaccinated right now. I know, Nick, I thought we weren't going to talk about vaccines. Just bear with me for a minute. There's a reason why this is important. So the NFL has that threshold of 85%. So when your team is 85% vaccinated, they lift restrictions. They make it easier for everybody to interact more normally, the way that we were used to before, when things were better. You can be in meetings together. It's not all this Zoom stuff. There's not the constant testing. All of the protocols that teams went through in the NFL last year, you won't have to do when you hit 85%. Now, is that foolproof? No, because the Yankees are at 85%, and then they just had another outbreak. So, it isn't perfect, but it's still what we're living with, and it's a whole lot better than the way things were last year. But this is going to be a problem for Ron Rivera and his team if they continue to have these low vaccination rates simply because the NFL is not going to allow them to interact as a team in a normal way, which means other teams around the NFL, and I've seen the Steelers are getting close to or right around 85%. As an example, a team like the Steelers, if they hit that threshold, they can have more normal meetings, more normal workouts, practices, weight room time. Back to the schedule that teams remember. But if you're where Washington is right now, reportedly, and it seems like it may be a while if they're under 50%, they're going to have to go through the same restrictions that they went through last year. It's going to be more difficult for them because at least last year, right? Last year was an even playing field. Everybody was doing the same thing. You're constantly getting tested. Guys are in a lot of Zoom meetings. Not everybody can just be in the weight room at the same time. There are now going to be teams in the NFL that have a competitive advantage because they can practice more normally. They can go through these normal routines. While other teams are sitting there going, we're still stuck in 2020. And that's a big deal. And that's going to be something that will factor into this season because I can tell you right now, ain't no way every team's hitting that threshold this year. Not a chance. And if that's the case, it's certainly not going to be the main reason that some teams are better than others, but it's one of them. It'll be a factor. It's going to add an extra layer of competitive advantage to certain teams that are able to do it. And it's really going to be interesting to see how that dynamic, how that narrative continues to trickle its way into the NFL throughout the season, where 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks into the year, certain teams are able to have normal practices, able to have normal routines. And other coaches are sitting there going, I got to get my guys in the building, and I can't have everybody here. Like I saw yesterday, Urban Meyer's already complaining with the restrictions that he can have with players just from a college to the NFL perspective. By the way, how long is that going to last in Jacksonville? That's going to be like a season.
I kind of think that guy's a donkey.
Bobby Petrino left after 13 games and was like, I'm going back to college. I don't think Urban Meyer lasts more than 2 years there. He'll push it a season, and I think by the second year, he's going to be like, I need to go back to college. It's so different. It's not just dealing with egos in, the pros of any sport when you go from college to the pros as a head coach, but it's dealing with the restrictions that maybe you don't have in college. Now, college has its own in terms of recruiting and things like that, but it's a major adjustment, and it's going to be a major adjustment for these coaches that have to deal with a team that they're still doing Zoom meetings with week 10 of the NFL season.
He's also had 2 scandals already.
Yeah, yes.
And it's not even 8 months into his tenure there.
That was a stupid hire. If you're Jacksonville, you did that because it was going to generate interest. That was a stupid hire. It was dumb.
Which one? Because there are 2.
Oh, well, yeah. I'm talking Urban Meyer because that's really where the trickle-down effect is.
Well, yeah. I mean, I understand why you would hire him. He's one of probably the 10 greatest college football coaches of all
that's
time.
College. He's been complaining nonstop He's been complaining nonstop though about having how complicated it is to work with players and all these off-season restrictions. Like he just did again the other day.
I know. This is why I have zero confidence in him.
Yeah.
I think Trevor Lawrence is just going to drag his terrible coaching across the finish line and get him to like a potentially winning season.
Look, anytime you're frustrated with being a fan of a team, at least you're not a Jacksonville Jaguars fan. Ugh.
It's got to be tough.
It's got to be really tough. But yeah, we'll see how this shakes out because this will be a narrative throughout the year. And it's going to be more than just making it about politics or making it about whether you should or should. No, this is just going to be about whether you can practice normally or not. That's a big deal. So the Nationals have the Padres tonight. Their gauntlet of a schedule continues. And, you sit and you watch this team. Remember that stretch in June where everybody was like, the Nationals are back. Look at the Nats. They've won 14 of 17. Here they are. This is like 19-31. Well, that's changed a little bit because they hit the All-Star break having lost 4 straight. They got swept by the Giants. They got swept by the Dodgers before that. They split with the Padres. The Padres tonight now at 7:05. You look at them in the standings, the Nats are now 6 games back of the Mets in the division, and it's time for them to look in the mirror. It honestly is. It's time for the Nats to kind of have one of those moments where they assess where they are, what the team really is, and what the rest of the season's going to look like, and decide that you're sellers. It's okay. Not every year do you need, you can't push for the playoffs every single season. At some point, the core of your team, the core of what you built, starts to fade. And this isn't even the same team that they had in 2019, right? It's not. But you look at this roster right now, and you see they continue to get older. They're certainly not on the Dodgers level, or the Giants level, or the Padres level, even though they split with them in their series. That was proof. They're 5 games under 500, 6 games back of the Mets in the division. And if I'm Mike Rizzo, I'm looking at that farm system. I'm looking at my lack of youth. Yeah, I know you drafted a shortstop that may play third base at some point for you down the road. But they need to address their farm system issues. They need to address the fact that they look at that infield and go, we got a bunch of guys that are utility infielders that we've been moving around for the last couple of years. We haven't been able to replace Anthony Rendon. Max Scherzer's about to be 37. Steven Strasburg can't get off the injured list. And it's time to sell. It's time to get some youth back. It's time to get some young talent back that you can build around over the next couple of years. Rizzo signed a 3-year deal. Reportedly, Davey Martinez signed a 3-year deal as well. They have a little bit of time to build this back up. They have a little bit of time where they can help make this organization, put them in a position to shift and get ready for the next generation, get them back where they were. Well, remember, that was one of the big bright spots of the Nationals for the longest time. It was that they have talent, it was that they were young, and a lot of them were homegrown players. Trey Turner, sort of. I know they got him in a trade when he was in the minors, but he came up through their organization, and he may be one of them, right? Because Trey Turner's deal needs to be addressed soon. We're talking about Brandon Sheriff's deal and how big of a deal that is for Washington, or we're talking about Jonathan Allen. Hell, look at what the Nats have right now. They're going to have to pay Trey Turner soon, and as we've seen over the last few years, they don't necessarily like to pay big money to guys that they've brought up through the organization unless they're pitchers. And it may be an opportunity where they say maybe they trade Trey Turner at the deadline. They had that chance with Bryce Harper to the Dodgers a couple of years ago before he left in free agency. Rizzo decided not to do it. They didn't want to pay him, though they did offer him $300 million, and they end up losing him for nothing. It's okay to occasionally be a seller as a team. It's okay to say, you know what? We're not where we are. We're looking at the standings. We're looking at the type of team we have, and we want to think big picture. Sometimes you have to have that look in the mirror moment, that self-evaluation. And it's hard, right? We all struggle trying to evaluate ourselves, looking in the mirror, figuring out what our strengths and weaknesses are. You go to a job interview. What are your 3 strengths and what are your 3 weaknesses? And nobody has a good answer for their weaknesses because we're not good at self-evaluating. If you're Mike Rizzo and the Nationals, a reset is needed. To push and try to squeak in because you think, well, maybe the Mets are going to Met. Because we thought the Braves would be better, and they're not. So maybe this is an opportunity. Is that really the way you want to function over the next couple of seasons? Or do you want to put yourself in a better position of strength for more longevity? Because they originally, when we got to 2012, and the Nats had the best record in baseball, it made the playoffs really ahead of schedule. That was a team that was built for the long haul. A lot of young, up-and-coming players on that roster in 2012, and moving forward, and more talent waiting for them. But you're in a position now, if you're the Nationals, where it's just not... Are you really that comfortable with where you are 6 games back of the Mets going, we got a shot to maybe catch up to them? Is that really... What that is that becomes baseball purgatory. And you're doing what the Wizards have done for years. You're doing what the Washington football team was in last year. We're okay. You made the playoffs. You were 7-9. You won the division. Great. You had some momentum, a little more respect for the organization. But, hey, you also needed a quarterback, and your draft pick wasn't as good. And I know I'm simplifying it, talking about the draft pick situation, especially in baseball where that's not necessarily the same scenario because you don't see these guys for 2-3 years half the time, maybe even more than that. But you have to have some of that self-evaluation. I mean, you just signed Steven Strasburg to this massive deal. He's on the injured list now for the 14th time in his 12-year career. And that's who you gave. Look, he had a great season in 2019, won the World Series MVP. In hindsight, that was the right decision. It was like John Wall's contract. John Wall's max contract was the right decision at the time for the Wizards. John Wall had a career year. They got to the second round of the playoffs. You saw that backcourt, and you were like, Bradley Beal and John Wall, look at what they're doing. Man, this team could go to the conference finals next year, win 50 games. Still waiting for that 50. By the way, that was always the great standard. Oh, maybe they're going to win 50 games. Still waiting for that 50 games. 50 wins. Here we go. But those made sense in hindsight. You can't always control injuries, but you can think, well, maybe there's a chance it's going to happen. You can predict the possibility, and you've got to weigh out the pros and cons of it. 7 years, $245 million, and 26 innings pitched for Steven Strasburg since he signed that deal. That hasn't helped him this year. They could really use Strasburg out there. But I see a team that sits so far back of the Mets, and the Mets aren't even a great team. They're not. But it's the worst division in baseball. You're 5 games under 500, and there's no need to try and squeeze every single bit of juice that you can out of this season when you can get more value out of the future. And I know it's not easy. I know it's not fun. And for you as a Nats fan, you don't want to see the team sell off. You don't want to see them trade Trey Turner. I mean, dare I say Max Scherzer? Maybe. He's a free agent after this season. He'll be 37 at the end of this month. So this stuff, this is the no fun business aspect that you have to deal with in pro sports, right? We don't like to see that. We just want to see our team win. You want to go to games. You want to enjoy. Go get a hot dog, get a beer. That's the fun stuff. That's the stuff everybody loves. But it's when you start getting into the money, to the business side, and sacrifices are made. That's the tough job that the organization has to deal with. Because most fans aren't going to think that way. You don't. You're like, I want to see Trey Turner here. Sign him to a big deal. Let's keep the guy. You may not be able to do that. Good organizations are able to have that self-evaluation. That's who the Patriots were for the entire Tom Brady, Bill Belichick era. When guys were about to get paid or they thought that somebody was just starting to trend in the wrong direction, they moved them. They traded them, got some value, maybe they cut them, didn't give them a big contract. And yeah, that's just one example, but that's a really good example. And it's cutthroat. But this is why I say, right or wrong, athletes are treated like appliances. And when they start to break down and they start making clunky noises, you get replaced with the newer, shinier appliance, the newer, younger player. That's how it's viewed. And that's really how the Nationals have to approach the rest of this year, really the next couple weeks, because that's really where the decisions are made. This series with the Padres, if they end up losing 2-3 games, you've got to look at this and say, okay, we can't compete with World Series contenders right now. We're not at that level. So why do we do it? You've got plenty of division titles. You've won all those. You've won the World Series. You've got the respect of everybody in baseball. You've got a fan base that supports you, that says, in Rizzo we trust, right? Out of all the general managers in this city, Who do you trust the most right now to make smart decisions? It's Mike Rizzo. He's at the top of the list. This is an opportunity for them to hit the reset button. And it's a chance for them to set themselves up for more success in the future, for more long-term growth, for a chance for them to get back to a World Series in a couple of years. Hell, at least it's not the Marlins. Man, you remember the Marlins won 2 World Series in their history. Both the times the Marlins won the World Series, they got rid of everybody in the offseason. They were like, we won. Okay, don't want to spend any money. Everybody out. It's not that situation. But there has to be a certain point where you look at this and go, all right, we got to fix this. We got to do something. And, listen, I will say this.
Hi, I'm Tito Beverage, founder and master distiller at Tito's Handmade Vodka. When I got into this business, I used to make flavored vodka infusions for my friends as gifts. When I started to make a go of it, the owner of a local liquor store showed me the dust on some flavored vodka bottles that sat on the shelves. He said, if you can make a straight vodka so smooth that you could drink it just by itself, then you'd really have something. So I did. And now all these years later, we still only make one flavor, vodka flavored vodka. 80 proof Tito's Handmade Vodka, distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. Tito'sVodka.com.
Baseball has shown they have a very bright future as a whole. The Nats are going to have to make some evaluations with some of their young guys, but the All-Star break, and as we get back into the second half of the season tonight, man, I'm looking at this and saying, baseball has a very, very bright future. And you're going to start getting some younger interest in it, too. I'll explain why next. Nick Ashew in for Kevin Sheehan.
Here's what's trending on the Team 980.
And we're brought to you by the BetQL Network. It's available nationwide on the Odyssey mobile app and website. Over 10,000 home and auto-connected devices and BetQLNetwork.com. Bradley Beal now out of the Olympics after entering the health and safety protocols. Team USA saying they're going to do their best to try and replace him and figure out who it's going to be. Still, all of that, of course, is up in the air when it comes to the Open Championship right now. Colin Morikawa, the leader, at 9 under through 13. Daniel Van Tonder, 3 shots off the lead, and Louis Oosthuizen, 6 under as well. Jordan Spieth, 5 under, along with Brian Harmon. They are set to tee off just before 10 o'clock today. Now, speaking of golf, by the way, Nick Ashew in for Kevin Sheehan. I'll tell you something. Bryson DeChambeau is incredibly entertaining. Like, this dude has become the villain, and we're not on Happy Gilmore status, but it sure feels close. Do we have the audio of what he said about his driver? Okay, so
I got it.
So this was Bryson DeChambeau talking about how he feels about his Cobra driver and how it's helped him so far in the Open.
If I can hit it down the middle of the fairway, that's great. But again, with the driver right now, the driver sucks. It's not a good face for me, and we're still trying to figure out how to make it good on the mishits. And, I'm living on the razor's edge like I've told people for a long time. And, when I did get it outside of the fairway, like in the first cut and whatnot, I catch jumpers out of there, and I couldn't control my wedges. So it's quite finicky for me because it's a golf course that's pretty short. And so when I hit driver up there and it doesn't necessarily go in the fairway, it's right in the first cut or whatever, or it's in the hay, it's tough for me to get it out onto the green and control that. But when it's in the middle of the fairway, like I had it on 18, I was able to hit a nice shot in there to 11 feet and almost made birdie. So it's kind of, living on the razor's edge. And, if I can figure out how to make that driver go a little straighter and figure out the jumpers out of the rough, that'd be awesome. I just can't figure it out. It's forever.
To go out there and say that your driver sucks when like that's a sponsor, this is a business partner of yours, to say it so bluntly, I love this. Golf needs more of this. I want more personalities in golf. There's enough of it being the gentleman's game. There's enough of everyone be silent in the backswing. I want more of this. Now, okay, Happy Gilmore might be a little bit extreme, but tell me this. Would you really complain if Bryson DeChambeau just straight up turned into Happy Gilmore? Like, he's sitting there, don't you want to go in your hole? Answer me. Like, I would be thoroughly entertained if that started happening.
I mean, he's like 80% of the way there.
He's almost there. It's getting closer and closer.
I love watching him tee off. I hate everything else he does.
I mean,
I hate him a lot.
Well, remember the beginning of the narrative, I guess probably last year, it was just all the weight he gained, right? How strong he got.
Yeah, he was drinking like 5 protein shakes on the course throughout the day.
He's the dude that you see walking around in like high school that just has the gallon jug of water just to let everybody know, I lift, bro. just so you know, this gallon jug of water, I got to drink it every day because I lift. He's that guy. But he's now turned into a villain. And you need a good villain in sports.
I mean, he is the villain to basically everyone.
Yeah.
Brooks Koepka, Cobra, pretty much everyone on tour hates him.
Now, Cobra responded, didn't they?
They did, and it's hilarious. I can't believe this guy went on the record and said it.
Do you have it?
Yeah, he said, everybody's bending over backwards. We've got multiple guys in R&D who are CADing, computer-added design, this and CADing that, trying to get this and that into the pipeline faster. Bryson knows it. It's just really, really painful when he says something that stupid.
And you know what? They're right to say that. I mean, this is a business partner of yours.
Well, it gets worse. He's never really been happy, like ever. Like, it's very rare when he's happy. Now he's in a place where he's swinging a 5-degree driver with 200 RPM of ball speed. Everybody's looking for a magic bullet. Well, the magic bullet becomes harder and harder to find the faster you swing and the lower your loft gets.
So this is what this tells me when I hear that quote. That is completely unloading on Bryson DeChambeau, which it tells me that this was like a dam exploding. There was a ton of pressure sitting back there waiting to be released, and finally, it's an explosion of angry words.
That dude just needed one word from Bryson to say this in public.
The minute he said sucked, it was, I hate this guy, that's it. I'm going at him.
It seems like a not proportional response.
Oh, no, it's way worse than what DeChambeau said.
But I love it. Oh, my God, I love it so much.
Oh, it's fantastic. I hope that this continues because it's just an entertaining look. Every sport we know now has to have some level of storylines and entertainment. You watch golf if you're a diehard golf fan because you love golf. I love the NBA. The NBA is the top of my list. We know that. I'm a basketball guy first, but I love every sport, man. I even watch soccer sometimes, Dar. Don't you worry. I grew up playing it. I love it. But, it's just not on the level. Like the NBA, I'll watch no matter what. But the storylines make it better. Even in golf, some interesting storylines here. You may not admit it as a hardcore golf fan, but it's stories like this. You're still emotionally invested in it. It's still something different. It's still something interesting, bare minimum. I love this. And I hope it continues.
So I didn't read the entire story. I just saw that screenshot on Twitter. There's more. The guy keeps going off on him.
So that's the only quote. That's as far as the quote has gone that I've seen. What else did he say?
He keeps talking about the Razor's Edge. Well, we're not going to be able to help that. We're trying to stay ahead of it, so we'll place an order for 10 prototype heads, and then literally as soon as that order is placed, usually within a week, we might be looking to order more of something else. It's the longest club with the least amount of loft that swung the fastest. Every ingredient has to be added to this difficult salad. Literally, it can't be any more of a challenge. This is a constant work in progress. This guy just keeps going off on him.
Wow. That would be like you. That would be like one day Sheehan on here just saying, Dar, this has just been a bad show today. Honestly, this show sucks. And leaving it that and you just going off. And that would be so I think Dar has actually hated Sheehan for the longest time ever. That's how you would know if that was ever the situation. Not saying that it is, because Sheehan is a very easy to get along guy, get with guy. I've known him for quite some time. Actually, so the first time I ever met Sheehan, I was an intern back when it was probably one of the 5 different names that this station has had over the years. And he literally walked up to me. It was my first day as an intern. He was doing the John Riggins show then. So there's people in this town that don't remember that. And he walks over to me. I'd never met him before. I'm at the computer doing intern stuff. Sticks out his hand. Hi, I'm Kevin. It's lovely to meet you. Like, it was just this booming, deep voice. I wasn't even looking, and it just came out of nowhere. So yes, Sheehan is a very easy to get along with guy. But if you were to ever, just maybe, go off like that and be like, you know what, Kevin? I've been on the razor's edge for like 2 months. I'm not sleeping. I'm constantly trying to book guests, and it's early, and it's really hard to get them. That's when we would know, there may be a little friction between Dar and Sheehan here. Maybe. I do root for that, by the way. I would like to see you go off.
Well, I have nothing to go off on.
I know,
very happy with Sheehan.
I know.
I guess the guy did have to clarify that he didn't mean with regards to Bryson never being happy, that was directed solely at his driver. We can't speak for his personal life.
See, that was my question, too. It was like, is this like an overarching just everything in life he's upset with thing? Because when I heard that quote, that was the first thing I thought of. Was like, are they just saying, because look, he's got all this drama going on, like with other than Cobra, there's more than that. So that's your first thought is like, is this just an overarching issue? This is when we'll know it'll get really bad, is if he ever just gets in a fight with somebody on the course.
I mean,
that's full Happy Gilmore right there.
It may happen with Brooks one of these days. It looks like it could sometime soon.
He did say the other day that Brooks Koepka said that DeChambeau's fair game now. Because I guess they had some agreement of like, let's just not talk about each other. Let's move on. And DeChambeau didn't hold up his end of the bargain. So Brooks Koepka's like, he's fair game now. I can say whatever I want about him. I'm going to do it. I think he said it on SportsCenter. So like, he was very open about it.
DeChambeau seems like a really weird guy too.
Yeah, he does seem like he's got his quirks.
Everything like on social media from him is like him and his bros at his house.
Yeah.
Lifting weights.
Yeah.
In ridiculous ways.
He's got to. He's got to do a lot of ridiculous weightlifting. He gained, 50, 60 pounds?
Yeah, I guess if you don't film it, no one would ever know you did it.
Yeah, don't you know that? You're not working out in the off season unless you show a crazy workout.
It's true. You constantly have to be in the best shape of your life.
Yeah. That's my favorite line, by the way. And you've been to plenty of, training camps or, every single athlete is the same way. I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm feeling great. I can't wait for this year. I remember, you'll love this. I remember Jan Mahinmi 3 years ago telling me he was in the best shape of his life.
That dude was stealing checks.
And I think he missed like 30 games or so. I don't know what it was. But, he was in and out of the lineup all the time the last couple of years. And, it was never a good situation to begin with. But there was also plenty of times where he was out injured. And he was always in the best shape of his life.
I can't wait until Davis Bertans is in the best shape of his life next training camp.
Yes. Well, he came in this year. The offseason was different. Free agency. There was a lot of things going on. He'll have his legs back next year. Totally worth the price.
We'll see.
Totally worth the check.
I'm sure.
We'll talk to Tim Murray in about an hour from VSiN, getting to some of the preseason NFL storylines that are going on. Up next, though, we finally have an idea what the front runner for the new name in Washington was supposed to be. I'll explain why and what that is next. Nick Ashew in for Sheehan.
Oh, thanks, everyone. I have two announcements. First, we didn't use EasyCater for this meeting, which is why the food never arrived. Also, and I just thought of this, effective immediately, everyone will be paid in wildly volatile cryptocurrency. You're all now billionaires. And now you're broke.
Bad ideas happen when there's no food for the meeting. So make sure it's on time and as ordered from more than 80,000 restaurants. Now, EasyCater.
You're rich again. And now you're not.
Order 24/7 on EasyCater.com.
Odyssey now has hundreds of new exclusive music stations for you to discover your new summer soundtrack.
Get moving with worthy workouts for a cardio sesh fueled by today's top artists.
Hanging with your crew? Throw it back with Picnic Party for old school jams for your cookout.
Or sail away with Odyssey's new yacht rock station, Jugger Yacht.
There are hundreds of new exclusive stations to check out today.
For summer barbecues,
road trips,
or relaxing poolside.
For every mood, every interest, every passion. By Odyssey. Brought to you in part by Macy's and Geico.